Dear listeners, a huge shout out to Travis Davis, also known as Maliciouslogic3740 for this incredible story. Not only is he a remarkable talent, but he's also a genuinely humble person. From the bottom of my heart, Travis, thank you for bringing this amazing story to life and for being a friend. Now let's start with the story. My name is Jacob Galloway. I work as a lineman in cable construction and power. I'm the guy they call when the power is out due to a storm. And I then put everything back together in a blizzard or whatever elemental hellhole so that you can have the comfort and convenience of enjoying Netflix in the warm comfort of your home as I freeze my butt off. Now mind you, I enjoy my job, just not the people in it. I'll get to that later. Now here's the kicker. I'm in jail for assault. Yes, not exactly the normal way to begin a story. But then again, what is normal these days? If you want normal as in to be publicly humiliated, heartbroken, crushed, and emasculated all in one, yes, that's normal now. Now before you ask, it is fair to say I'm very single, especially what I found out. I'm not some bodybuilder action hero type guy. And I'm not some ex-convict tough guy or savage marine. Nope, I'm as average as you get. I'm 28 years old, 5'9", and have an average build with a gut. I'm not a martial artist or boxer or anything special. Just a fat guy who had his heart ripped out of his chest then had it stomped on while everyone laughed. I have never been in a fight before, but after feeling my knuckles, I'm shocked by that fact. In the past 24 hours, I went from the average married guy who, despite the madness of it all, was surprisingly good and okay, to where my life was. I woke up, go to work, come home to a wife anyway. Then just to find out that she is a 304, and I'm the joke, open to the public's laughter and jeers. So, here I sit in this cell, my knuckles battered and bruised, along with my ribs and black eye. Yet despite the genuine pain I feel in my body, it is nothing compared to what my heart is feeling. It's like I have been hit by a car then run over again, and everyone is laughing. Then when I show I don't like that, I'm the bad guy. But then again, with the way tonight went, I can't say I blame anyone calling me that. I just don't understand how this all happened. I know why I'm here, and I'm not sorry. I'm only sorry I didn't blind the scumsucker. As I sit in the cell, I hear someone down the hallway, then listen as they make my way to the cell. Lucky it is an empty house tonight. Not sure I should be relieved or embarrassed of that fact, so I just choose to deal with it. Along with everything else in my life that has gone to shit, I just sit in my cell. Now if anyone saw me tonight, they would say that I did anything but lose. Hell, Mike Tyson would be proud. Or Randy Rampage Jackson, or someone like that. Sure, I got my hit in, but if you felt even an inkling of what I feel, you would know I did nothing but win. In fact, I'd even say I'm the biggest loser on the planet. The guard finally reaches me. This guy is usually an a-hole. Not that I have anything against police officers, just this guy in general, but even he has a look of sympathy for me. You know you've been through hell when the a-hole feels bad for you. Jacob, you posted bail. I look up at him, my scars and bruise on full display. I wonder who paid my bail. Of course, I figured I may as well stay inside and take my chances at county. I did not want to go back out there. I wanted to crawl into the nearest hold I could find. I knew it was only a matter of time before everyone in this damn town knew what was going to know what happened and saw firsthand how much of a loser I was. Was? Who am I kidding? Am and always will be. I can't even have the dignity to be left here. I must deal with this bullshit in the world now. I didn't know what to expect, or more like who when I walked down that hallway. When I made it to the lobby, I saw him. The one guy that no matter how dark things were, you would just see that smile of his and you knew things were going to be all right. Just like he is doing right now, that signature smile of his. Hey old man, how you doing? And just like that, my dad made me cry. Every emotion I felt that I have been holding in since this damn thing came about. And my dad just held me. He drove 3 hours away from a getaway, just to make sure his boy was okay. When I specifically told him not to. The old school Air Force veteran who served in Desert Storm when he was 18 and Iraq years later. He even was a USAF pararescueman, the Air Force comparison of the Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, true definition of a savage, had just gave me a reason to turn into that 5-year-old kid that was happy to see his dad. Dad. I broke down in his arms right there, and he just held me there like when I was a kid, letting me know that it was going to be all right. It's all right, old man. It's all right. I'm here now. And even though I didn't say it, even though I told him not to come up, that everything would be fine, and I didn't want him to worry, here he is, holding me in his arms as I'm crying like a baby who just had his heart ripped out. Dad used his connection to get the money to pay my bail. He knew some people who knew some things before he went into service and called in a few favors. Let's get you home. I looked at him and just nodded my head. I knew Janice wouldn't be there, Not after tonight. I collected my property and left with my dad. My hero who saved my butt yet again. The ride home was quiet. I feel every emotion. It's a mixture of either wanting to laugh, cry, or throw up when I think of that word and Janice in the same sentence. When we got home, I opened the door. It looked smaller for some reason now. Mind you, I haven't been here since I was in high school. It's like going back in time in my parents' home. Like I said earlier, a lot can change in 24 hours. I take off my coat and just drop onto the couch. Not saying or doing anything but staring into nothing. Wondering every who, what, where, when, why, and how that caused this to happen. Was it me? Something I did or didn't do? These thoughts and more just move and dance in my head like every natural disaster in one. Just chaos. My dad snaps me out of it with the sound of a beer can opening as he sets it down next to me. He takes the Diet Sprite. He has been sober for 15 years and still holding strong. I tell yes, my dad is a savage. I'm proud of him. Then I heard him speak. Mom will be home in a little bit. She went to a store to get something for you to eat. I got a feeling it has been a while since you had some food in your stomach. I couldn't deny that. My stomach growls told on me. My dad then looks at me with a sympathetic smile. You had better days, old man. An inside joke that me and him share by him calling me that and vice versa. I smile somehow when I respond. Yeah, you could say that. I thought I told you not to worry about me. That I was going to be fine. My dad just smiled and responded. One, I know you told me you were okay, but every parent knows when their kid says they are okay, but are full of shit and hiding the fact they are anything but okay when they hear it themselves. Second, you are my son. My job as your father did not end when you turned 18. And if I'm still around, it doesn't end when you are old and crippled either. It ends when I'm in the ground. I'm your father, Jacob, and whether you like it or not, you are stuck with me when it comes to making sure you are okay. I take a deep breath, not of frustration, but appreciation. Because right now I am the most alone guy on the planet. And it felt good feeling anything but that for once. I love you too, Dad, thanks. Dad took his can of soda and toasted with my beer. He then looked at me with sincerity. So, what happened, man? Talk to me. And this is where I'm going to have to go where this all started until I get you all caught up. Now mind you, Dad knows the basics of yours truly and his backstory, but you don't. So I'm going to tell you who is Jacob. Don't worry, I'll let you guys know when you catch up to Dad. And here we go. Years ago, I was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania during a thunderstorm when my parents got stuck for a visit, but lived in Dover Air Force Base in my early years since Dad was in service. The thing about Pennsylvania is that most people who live outside of it only pay attention to Philly and Pittsburgh, or Berg if you live near it or whatever. And don't get me started on the soda and pop debate, but I digress. I was your average kid coming up. First, my parents. I have two loving parents. My dad, Simon Connors Galloway, and my mom, Angela Morgan Galloway. My mom came to the States from Scotland when she was 17. She was, and still is, a beautiful woman, although she is in her late 40s now. My dad described her as someone that came from a fairy tale redhead warrior maiden. At 5'5" with a lean build and blue eyes. My mom is the quiet, let her actions speak louder type. She had a heart of gold and a will of iron. That was one of the reasons my dad fell for her so hard. Mom was born in Glasgow, Scotland. My grandpa, Michael Morgan, was a strong man who worked the factories, while my grandmother, Lucy O'Neill Morgan, unfortunately died giving birth to Mom. Life was hard, but Grandpa made sure Mom was safe and loved throughout her years. He also taught her to defend herself both physically and mentally. He also encouraged her to learn as much as possible. So much that Mom ended up learning 3 languages before the time she was 13. She came to the States to visit family in her late teens, but liked it so much, she convinced her parent to stay here with them so she can officially become a citizen. So, her family sponsored her until she was 18. She was both beautiful and fierce when the time came for it. She hated the redhead stereotype that she couldn't keep her emotions in check, so she made it a point not to be controlled by them and was usually kind and caring as a result. However, if the situation called for it, she had no qualms handling a situation with her hands if her words failed. Many a rash woman knows was broken from the result. And if a situation came that multiple people or a man came to threaten her or a loved one, her skill with a foreign object meeting its mark would be demonstrated. My dad was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. He was known as a hard, aka tough guy coming up in his youth. He had to be being that he was the only guy in the neighborhood. So almost every day was a fight when the other kids picked, or should I say tried to pick on him. He ended up getting a reputation as someone that was good with his hands. What people didn't know was that he was trained by a black old former boxer, Leonard Galloway, who took the old man under his wing when he was 11. Guess he got tired of seeing Dad get his, but kicked by the kids in the neighborhood. Despite the ethnic difference, they had nothing but respect and love for each other. Dad never knew Grandpa, since he died in Vietnam when he was born, so he was raised alone by my grandma Sophia Connors, at least until Leonard. It was not often to see a man and a woman from different race and ethnicity genuinely fall in love at that time in the area. But in the end, love conquers all, I guess. By the time he is 17, Dad was a powerhouse of muscle and boxing skill. He would have gone pro if not for some narcotics dealer with an ego trip didn't try him. Dad was approached by this guy, Maurice Snake Jackson. The alias says it all why my dad didn't like him. Maurice wanted him for muscle, but Dad wasn't interested. Maurice tried to stab him, only for Dad to dodge the knife and hit Snake with a hard right cross, knocking him out. Unfortunately, Snake landed on the curb, hitting the back of his neck, killing him. They locked my dad up, charging him with manslaughter. At court, he was given a choice: either serve time in prison since he was 17 and could be charged as an adult, or go to the military. Dad decided to choose the latter. Mom and Dad bumped into each other at the courthouse. Mom was finalizing her citizenship, while Dad had just avoided jail time by joining the United States Air Force. Bumped into my dad when he was heading into boot camp. He was 17 at the time heading. Anyway, when they first met each other in that courthouse, something clicked. Some would call it love at first sight. Mom would just joke and say, the man was cute, just to avoid the first option was true. They talked briefly in the hallway, yet in that short time connected. They shared information to stay in touch. Mom would always send him love letters, and Dad said those love letters brought him home to her. No matter what horrors he saw, it was those letters that saved his life. When it was all over, Dad came home and proposed to my mom. Now he held her in her arms. A lot of people would say that was insanely sporadic, and they might be right, if they were still married and madly in love today. Eventually, they had me, once Dad had served his time in the military. We ended up moving to Lancaster after living in base housing for a time at the end of the war in Iraq. Dad became a bus driver, and Mom became a teacher. Anyway, back to me. Sorry I get sidetracked sometimes. I was your average kid, never got into much trouble, if I could help it anyway. As with most kids, I seem to have a target or bullseye on my head as the perfect kid to bully or try to. Now when I said I was the perfect kid to bully, I should clarify, I seemed like the perfect kid to bully at the time. A lot of the so-called bully tend to stop when I end up breaking a nose or two. Bullies are cowards. They pray for people who can't fight back, or they use some kind of backup system before they decide to take someone on. But the moment that someone they think is weak fights back, it's a whole different story. I had my share of fights in school. I just could not understand it. I kept to myself. I mean, yeah, I like Star Wars, anime, comic books, and Warhammer 40k. For the Emperor. Sorry, if you know, you know. School for the most part was mundane. No one gave me too much trouble, except for the occasional bully. They would write on my desk I was the product of a 304 and her client. That my family was a bunch of meth heads. That was retarded. Or one of my favorites, I was the meth baby that should have died instead of live. It didn't help that I wore clothes from Walmart either, I guess. I was raised to wear what is presentable, but what makes you comfortable. And if my folks could save a buck or two, it did not matter to me. Eventually, the bullies decided to get creative and jump me during lunch in my junior year. I was eating my food when out of nowhere the star quarterback for the school, Derek Sanders, decided to sucker punch me while I was eating my sandwich. Apparently, he didn't like it when I punched his cousin in the face for defending myself when he tried to throw me off the gym bleachers. So I held onto his leg, got myself up, and punched him in his face and broke his nose. I would say that was reasonable. Derek didn't think so. Derek was always the entitled prick. He always felt entitled to take what he thought was his, no matter what. He was shocked when I hit him back. We ended up fighting, but not before his goon squad jumped in. When it was over, I ended up with 2 broken ribs, a black eye, broken jaw, and bruises covering my entire body. Those same bullies that beat me up with Derek had been bullying me and other kids for years, with the paperwork of complaint to match. Complaints that fell on deaf ears. My parents were livid when they heard what happened to me. My mom had to be restrained by my dad from bashing the principal face in due to her negligence. But they settled for the lawsuit and the principal's removal instead. Derek ended up expelled and served time in juvie for assault. His mom and dad used their influence to get him light time, but his dreams of going pro were shattered due to his actions. It was around this time that I meet my future wife, Janice Winters. Janice was a new student by the time I got out of the hospital. My and dad got me a car because of the lawsuit, a 1970 Chevelle that needed work. It was a project that me and the old man would work on throughout the years. By the time we were done, she had a beautiful coat of black paint with a white stripe down its middle. A powerful engine that I swear would make it around the world if it had the ability to drive across water, and power to terrify any car on the road to get out of the way. It was the car that introduced us. I was on my way to the parking lot when I saw a girl touching and leaning onto it. When I arrived, she was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen, standing at 5'5". Her blonde shoulder-length hair and blue eye were enchanting. She was still wearing her cheerleader's uniform. Her body was amazing. But hot or not, I did not like anyone just randomly leaning on my car. I called out to her, "Do you mind getting off of my car, please?" I said it in a respectful, yet firm tone. She looked at me in shock, as if I was wrong to acknowledge her presences. "Who do you think you were talking to me like that?" I didn't miss a beat, the owner of the car. "Now get off it." She then got in my face ready to say something, but strangely enough she smiled. You know, not every day someone tells me no. I then say, "Well, there is a first time for everything." We both looked at each other and then laughed. After that, we just became the most unusual item in the school. It was our senior year that we met. To say that we were the odd couple was an understatement. Me, a military brat, now working-class family weird kid, with the most popular girl of the school whose family is loaded. The girls looked at us with confusion, as if wondering why she would waste her time with a weird guy like me. The guys thought the same thing, but they were also jealous of the fact. I wish I could tell you we're just click-liked magic, or we had a bunch of stuff in common. But honestly, we just cared about each other. We were odd for everyone else, but fit for each other. I was there for her when she needed help with her studies. She was there for me when I felt so low and down. When she needed someone to be there for her when her folks divorced, I was there for her. When we found out Mom had breast cancer, she was there for me. We just built off the time and things we did for each other. We were young, but we knew we were crazy about each other. We made love for the first time when we were 18 after our senior prom. One of the things I loved about her was not just her beauty, but her commitment. When she put her mind to something, nothing was going to stop her. She wanted to be a nurse, so she ended up going to the community college after graduation. I ended up working in cable construction. I started out as a ground hand and worked my way up over the years. After a few years living with each other in an apartment I got in Orange Street, I proposed to her on our anniversary date. The moment I knelt, she was in tears with a smile behind it. She jumped into my arms with full abandon. My parents were so happy for us. Mom had long since recovered from her cancer and was gaining a healthy amount of weight back. Dad was ecstatic and told me he was proud of me for making this step. Her parents were another story. Her father, Alex Winters, a well-known businessman of the area, flat out hated me. No matter what I did, it was never good enough for his baby girl. Ever since he found out I was dating her in high school, he looked at me as if I were a freak or mutant his kid took pity on. When I asked him for his daughter's hand, he threatened to have me killed out of pure anger and hate. However, the following day, he happened to come to my apartment and apologize for his actions and shook my hand and granting me his blessing. I don't know why or how he did that at the time, but I would hear a rumor that it involved my dad paying him a visit one night. That visit allegedly involved a .45 caliber pistol being forced into Alex's mouth, with my father telling him, "The day my son gets so much as a paper cut because of you is the day that I get to play the board game Operation with you in real life." Take a guess who the board game and the surgeon's going to be. Again, only rumor. Alex never insulted me again after his visit though. Of course, he never said anything to me, which was just fine with me. Her mother, Marie Jones, was rather snobbish and arrogant. She would always insult me when she got the chance, calling me an ogre that her daughter took pity on. She flat out told me at a function that I'm obviously just a toy for her daughter's urges, nothing more, since I was dumber than a box of rocks. She made the mistake of saying that in front of my mother. Both ladies went to the bathroom. However, Marie seemed more humbled after her stint and apologized soon after. Now, I don't know exactly what was said, but she always made it a point to be nice to me from then on. Although I do recall Marie tapped her neck a few times that night, and for a second, I thought she had a cut. I also remembered that Mom used to shave Dad with a straight razor, real nice and close back when he was in the military. She always wanted to make sure he looked sharp. Whether they faked likening me or just flat out leaving me alone, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that I was going to spend the rest of my life with the woman I loved. We were both 20 when we had our wedding. It was traditional, but beautiful nonetheless. We had it at a local church and family and friends were invited. I still see her come down the aisle with her dress. She looked like something that came out of a fairy tale. She was so beautiful. We ended up getting a house. My parents paid it off with the bulk of it using funds from the lawsuit. Even though they owned it, it was our home. A gift from them that they insisted on. So many beautiful memories in that house in Mount Joy. We made love in every corner and area wherever we could in that house, even its backyard. Although not many, I'm sure the neighbors heard us more than once on occasion. As time went by, we grew in our professions. I got so good in cable, I eventually became a foreman or lineman for the state. They would send me locally, or if need be, anywhere in the state depending on if the job was that big, or an emergency. Janice eventually became one of the youngest doctors in the hospital, as well as one of the best. We both loved our jobs, but we always supported and loved each other. We would still get stares when people look at us. I wasn't obese or anything, but I was nowhere in shape. Janice kept, or even improved her looks from high school. At 26, she had the look of a supermodel. Most would swear she was fresh out of high school if not for her demeanor and ID. There were times that our jobs took a toll. For me, it would be the emergency jobs in the middle of a storm that me and my crew had to repair. She would rather I be home safe than risk my life for someone to have internet in a thunderstorm or blizzard. There were times I had to work 19 hours straight. There were times that she would have to go on these emergency meetings involving different hospitals. I would share my frustrations, of course, but she told me her position meant she had more responsibilities now, and she had to follow through. Despite the issues, we still maintained a loving relationship and a very active sex life. We even got creative for her surprise trips when they took longer. Some involved video and pictures. Others involved sending mail with her undergarments. We would be lustful as possible with each other when we could, as creative as possible, until she showed up back home, just for it to be even more intense. To say she was insatiable is an understatement. We had been together for 9 years, but married for 6 years at this point. Despite the few disagreements that couples had, our time together was bliss. I did not just make love with my wife, but my best friend. We always spent time together and shared our concerns and thought together, never hiding anything from each other. All these years and our love just grew. Then I hear the most important news in my life. I came home from a long job at 11 at night and was exhausted. I enter the door with her standing there crying but smiling. "What is it?" I ask. She just hugs me and whispers into my ear, "You're going to be a father, baby." I could not help but shed a tear and smile when she told me that. Me, the ugly guy, having a baby with the most beautiful woman in the world. It just didn't happen to someone like me. I took her in my arms and twirled her around like a crazy person, hugging and kissing her as much as possible. She ended up tapping my shoulder, asking me to let her down. As soon as I did, she laughed and spoke. "Jesus's baby, spin me anymore and I think I'll have me and our baby's lunch on the carpet." We both had a laugh, and reveled in the fact that we have another member join our family. We told our parents. Mine were so happy and supportive. They were ready to spoil our kid like crazy. Her father could care less, while her mother was surprisingly happy, yet would look at me strangely for some reason. Work also took a strange turn. I came in one day and was called into the home office and to go to the office of the regional director, Marcus Daniel. I went there as instructed. Maybe I was going to get a raise or more benefits, who knows? When I arrived, I saw a face I did not think I would ever see again. And to be honest, could have done without Derek Sanders. When I saw him in the office, a feeling of dread hit me in the gut. He had maintained his physique throughout the years. In fact, I think he got a little more muscle. He was wearing a black business suit, standing at 6 feet. To be honest, he looked like one of those hunks that were on the cover of romance novels when I was a kid. Mom loved those. "Hey there, long time. Been a while, right?" He put his hand out for a shake. I needed to play friends since the higher-ups were here. "Yeah, it sure has." My hesitancy clear. Mr. Daniels then speaks up. "Hey Jacob, Derek says you two used to go to school together. Is that true?" I look at the shit-eating grin that he gives off, fighting the urge to punch it before I answer. "Yeah, we meet sometime around junior year, I think." Derek then chimed in. "Yeah, we used to get into all sorts of trouble back then, right? If it was trouble, chances were that we were a part of it. Isn't that right, man?" I look at him like he is the world's best actor desperate for a meal. Clearly, he is trying to look good in front of the boss. I say screw it and hand him a bone. "Yeah, you could say that. But that was a long time ago. Had to grow up a lot since then, you know?" I see the look in Derek's eye. I think I saw a twinge of anger there. Perhaps remembering how I embarrass him that he needed help to beat me despite Sucker punching me that day in the cafeteria. Then I swear I see a slight smirk for some reason, but think nothing of it. Time goes by, I tell you. But I gotta ask, why are you here? Derek just gave that arrogant smile of his. "Well, you are now looking at your new regional manager." I was stunned. I had to ask again. "I'm sorry, what now?" "Your new manager, you dumb shit." Look, I'll be frank, back in high school, I was a real shit. I'm not arguing that. And as a result, it cost me. I did some real soul searching in that time. All those years. I had to ask myself, what did being a jerk to people give me exactly? Nothing. It gained me nothing but a shitty reputation and a shit way that people viewed me. My dad ended up sending me to military school and set me straight. It was needed. And I finally grew up. I ended up going to college for business management and finance. I even got my master's. I could have gone anywhere, but this is home. So what better place to be, right? I listened to his speech. Mr. Daniels was damn near in tears. But I knew better. I kept trying to figure out what his angle was. Jacob, Derek is going to oversee sending you off to potential sites from now on. Also, you have been trying to get on morning shift for years now. Well, now you can have it. It will be nice to sleep like a normal human being again, right? I could not lie. I hated graveyard shift. I've been in it since I became a state employee, no matter how well I did. The only times I worked during the day were for business trips outside of town to aid in some big job or emergency. So, when I heard that I would be working daylight now, I can't deny the smile it brought to my face. Not to mention the jobs you will now get. There is something to put in your pocket for you, Janice and the baby now, right? That was another reason. Our baby. With Janice becoming pregnant, I had to use every chance I could make sure me and my family were taken care of. Not to mention I can work overtime, but still have time for Janice when I come home. I looked at them both. Welcome aboard, man. Glad to have you with us. I really wasn't, and I think he knew that. But we both played best buddies in front of the boss in the end. He took my hand. But there's something about that grin that just rubbed me the wrong way. I told Janice the news when I got home. She was happy for me, and us for that matter. Oh, thank God. I can finally spend time with my husband and not have to be a zombie by the time you get here. It will be nice to have you come home in the afternoon when I do. I hugged and kissed her. Of course, beautiful. How is the baby doing? Janice was starting to show her pregnancy now. She was at least 4 months now. She ended up on light duty, but I wanted her on maternity leave. With the recent news and raise, I can finally do that without either of us killing ourselves. She smiled at the news. Again, thank God. This baby is kicking my butt. I'll turn in the paperwork with my supervisor tomorrow. She then noticed a slightly hardened look I had, putting her hand under my chin and lightly pulled my face to hers. Are you okay, baby? I took a breath. Yeah, I just saw a ghost from the past I could do without. She looked intrigued. Oh yeah? Who is that? I told her it was Derek, and she had a surprised look on her face. Now I was interested in her reaction. You okay, baby? You look like you've seen a ghost yourself. She waved her hands. It's nothing. I just remember how much of a shit he was in high school. Wait, he is your new manager you were talking about seeing earlier? I nodded my head. Oh great. I'm sorry you must deal with that now, baby. I wish there was something I could do to make you forget. I heard the seduction in her voice and felt her hands begin to explore my stomach and work their way down. I can think of a few things. I responded as I took her in for a kiss. We made love right on the couch there and then. Still, I could not shake this feeling that there was something happening that I have yet to know. As the months flew by, I began the new work schedule. Derek put me in places all over Pennsylvania. I would work a down power line near a chemical plant near Philadelphia on Monday. Then work a power outage that stretched from Allentown to Scranton on Wednesday. Then end the week with a large influx of telephone replacements outside of Pittsburgh. Despite the workload, I always made time for my family. I usually left home at 6 in the morning and got home around 7 in the evening. Still time to spend with Janice and the baby, who was kicking harder and growing inside her every day. I swear she always had a smile on with a glow when I came home. And I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I was working a job one day when Derek showed up. What the hell is he doing here? I thought. It was strange seeing a suit in the muck with the rest of us, but I came by when he called me over. Jacob, I just got word that Janice is in labor. She is already heading to Hershey Medical. You are done for the day. Get going, and good luck. He didn't have to say another word. I drove from Reading to Hershey in less than an hour. I'm just thankful that state police were not that much of a presence on the turnpike. Otherwise, how fast I was going would have brought me in county until the judge could see me on Monday for sure. When I arrived, I had my personal protective equipment on that the nurses required I wear before going inside. When she saw me, she was in pain, but so relieved, as was I, to be honest. I wanted to be there when our baby was born. I already called Mom and Dad along with your parents. As usually, her father could care less. Marie arrived with my folks, but she had a concerned look when she did, from what my mom told me later. 12 hours later, we welcomed our daughter Elizabeth Galloway into the world. She was so beautiful when I saw her. The nurse let me hold her, and I fell in love with her instantly. Her loud cries suddenly ceased when I held her, and she gave me that warm, beautiful smile. I then handed her to Janice, and we bonded for the first time as a family. As the week came by, we were finally allowed to take my family home. My parents and Marie were there to welcome us and our new addition to the house with a meal, where friends and family were invited. I told a few guys at work, so it didn't surprise me when a few showed up. What did surprise me was Derek. When Derek saw me, he immediately embraced me for a hug. "Congratulations, man. I'm happy for you. You deserve this and all to come with that kid and family of yours." I admit, for once I felt genuine care from him, never thought I would live to see it. He then made his way to my wife, giving her a small kiss on the cheek. Normally I would be pissed if I saw him do this, but that would be the stupid from high school I would be mad at. But this guy seemed to show respect, so I didn't mind it. Then he asked me something that shocked me. "Hey Jacob, can I hold her?" I was hesitant but allowed it. This guy is the reason I can take care of my family now, and Janice can afford to go on paternity leave. Sure, man. I watched as he held her. If I didn't know any better, I would swear he shed a tear. A lot of the guys were friendly to my wife. In fact, he recently got a few of his friends from high school to work with him, and none of them gave me shit lately. I guess everybody grows up at some point. I didn't know it at the time, but this year would be the one that my entire world would be turned upside down, followed by a million exploding suns, changing everything that I thought I knew. As the year went on, things eventually went back to normal. Janice eventually got off maternity leave and hired a nanny while we were both at work. My jobs became taxing as usual, but not enough to burn me out. And the money was well. Janice also ended up getting bonuses that seemed to come out of nowhere. She became such a good doctor that she became well known in the region, which meant more job trips and meeting to other hospitals and clinics along with medical functions. They began to happen once or twice every few months. At first it was like that, but then she began to have longer late-night meetings, at times not coming home until 9 or even 10. When I brought it up, she would always listen to my concerns, and things would ease up a little bit, go back to the way things were, and we were good again, leaving me with no reason to think something was off other than her workload. One day when I was at work, Derek called out to me. "Hey Jacob, how are you, man? How is that lovely wife of yours?" The guys around him started to sink her a little bit. I didn't like the vibe I was getting about it. A part of me wanted to punch him in the face by the way he asked that question. It wasn't like he was complimenting her. He said it in a way that he wanted her in bed. I kept my composure nonetheless. "She is fine, Derek. So is the baby. What do you want?" Derek took notice of the tone of my voice. "Whoa, easy there, my guy. I'm just asking is all, I swear. Just wanted to make sure that beautiful family of yours is okay, that's all. With as much money I get into your pockets, I figured it could not hurt to ask that at least, right?" I just looked at him and his stooges around him, smiling like there was something I did not know. An inside joke that I knew nothing about, and I did not like it at all. I didn't say anything and went back to my job. That is another thing that has been changing this year too. I noticed that some of the guys that Derek hired were some of the same stupids that used to jump me back in high school. I don't know what is going on, but I'm going to find out exactly what it is. I make it home at the end of the day. I feel a sense of weariness that I don't like having around. Not that anyone would really. I see Janice singing to herself as she prepares dinner. When she turns to my direction, I startle her. I can't lie, seeing her scared out of her mind is quite the sight. She tends to jump like a cartoon character, and her cheerleading days come back for a moment as she damn near jumps to the ceiling. However, as funny as that is, my heart was heavy with worry. "Hey baby, sorry I scared you?" She must have saw how I felt, because she came over with a concerned face of her own. "Baby, are you all right? What happened? You look like you had better days." I took a long breath. "Honey, are we good?" I could see the question took her off guard a little bit. "Baby, of course we are. You know, if something was bothering me, I would tell you." "Why would you ask that?" I wanted to tell her because of what Derek said, but something told me not to for some reason. So, I took a different route. "I just want to make sure that we are good is all, hun. I know work-wise we both are getting hammered, and I know you've been fully involved with your job. I guess I'm afraid our jobs are keeping us apart more than it should be, you know. We haven't spent that much time together, and it seems like it is hell in a handbasket to make plans." She gave her reassuring smile as she placed her hands on my teared face. "Baby, I know it may seem like you don't see me as often, but please know that I would never do anything to hurt you. You have my word on that, baby." I loved the way she said baby, and she knew it. I soon felt her hands explore my body again as she kissed me. Our love-making may have calmed my nerves, but it did not quell my concerns. I could not ignore how chipper Derek and the others were. Something was going on. The next day, We got word for a big project in Potsdam. We are to assist in the mass installation of over 10 miles of fiber optic cable. The same cable that is responsible for your high-speed internet connection that allows you to look up Google, adult sites and stories from channels, or certain websites. You're welcome. This came as a shock, and I couldn't help but see a certain shit-eating grin on Derek's face. A face that I was really starting to despise at this point. I got hit with the job, but I had the option of the crew. I took in the new hires, Manny, Malik, Craig, Warren, and Craig, and Chuck and Crystal. Derek just kept that shit-eating grin painted on his face. I know this may take a bit, but I'm sure you will manage. He may have wanted me to be stuck out there all day, and on normal circumstance he would be right. What he didn't know was that the crew I have now, I worked with in my days as a ground hand. They taught me everything I know about the field, and they put many a crew to shame with just 2 of them alone. And I have a whole team of them. It takes us about a half hour to get there. We check the area and lay out a plan of how to do the task. We utilize 3 trucks at a time, with 1 man lashing the cable wire for each truck. The job would have taken 8 hours under normal circumstances. It took us only 3. When the job was done, we gave each other congratulations. Because anyone who worked cable construction realizes with over 6 miles of fiber brought one hell of a payday. Alright guys, good shit. You did good today. Go home, get some sleep, and thanks for everything. Enjoy those fruits of the labor. Everyone went their separate way. A job well done. This will make us known. I listed the job as complete and sent the email to the management. Now, I just wanted to go home, have a hot meal waiting for me, have a good long shower, and make love to my beautiful wife. I thought about giving her a call and letting her know I made it home early, but I was feeling so good about getting a whole project complete that I wanted to get her something. It was not our anniversary, or even her birthday or Christmas for that matter. I just wanted to get her something. I decided to stop at a store to get her something. Normally it would be 11 at night before I got home. Today, I'll be there around 4 due to the job we all did. I got her favorite, organic apple juice and peanut butter cups. I even found her favorite movie, Hook with Robin Williams. We both grew up in the 90s, and this was one of her favorites as a kid. She never knew I paid attention to the little things. I even saw her tattoo of a hook on her inner right thigh. She joked once and said, "It was so that I can get a grip." And for my eyes alone, I remember I broke it the night she got it. A smile comes across my face at the memory. Anyway, I bought a movie, drink, candy, as well as a romantic card. I wrote the following. My dearest wife Janice, having you in my life has been nothing but a blessing. From the moment I open my eyes and see you there, to the moment I go to sleep and feel your lips upon mine, is nothing short of enchanting. My wife, the mother of my child, I love you with all my heart, forever your Jacob. She is going to love this. I thought to myself, nothing could nor will ruin this moment. I drive home thinking of a way to approach her. I consider scaring her, but knowing her and my luck, she will think I'm an intruder and hit me with the nearest thing possible, not limited to some cosplay blade or sword that I'm not aware about. I could say something in a romantic gesture, but she will probably laugh her butt off. I don't mind it when she laughs, mind you. In fact, I love it every time I hear it. But I'm trying to be romantic, not do a comedy stand. As I get closer to my home, the thoughts of me showing her how much I love her fill my head so much that I realize I was wrong for thinking the way I did. That Derek was just being the prick that he always was, and she wasn't doing what would have destroyed our marriage. She loves me, and I love her, and I need to get my head out of my butt and remind her of that fact. I love and trust her. As I came around the bend of our block, I could not help but feel excited surprising her like this, that this was going to be epic. I think I can call someone in to babysit for the night. It has been ages since we gone out. Maybe go to that restaurant, the Silver Spoon. As I came to our house, I saw something. As I got closer, my heart suddenly shattered. Every fear, doubt, bad feeling came to foliation. The first thing I saw was a car that I did not own. A 2024 black Jaguar XF. I don't own that car. And Janice owns an Accord. But I know who does, Derek Sanders. I then look up in our window. We live in a very rural area with few neighbors, so modesty was never a concern for us. But looked at my bedroom through the open window. That is my bedroom, where I lay my head, where I make love to my wife. I see them kissing. I see her in her bra, and I see him removing it to fondle her. That was supposed to belong to me and me alone. I cannot describe what I'm feeling right now. My wife, the love of my life, is cheating on me in my bedroom with the guy who was a bully to me in my high school years. Knowing how I feel about him, yet she is doing this? Despite the pain I'm feeling, I get a hold of myself. I now know that my marriage is now over. Based on how they behave, This is anything but their first time. I must record this. I took out my phone that I just bought with my bonus and put it to good use. I record the act in every way I can. I make sure I get their faces clearly as well as the act itself. I also make sure I isolate the audio and surrounding sounds to make sure I get their voices. I hear him degrading me, asking her if he screws me better. My heart breaks even more when I hear her scream back, "Do me more, baby." Oh my God. Who is this woman? Where's my wife? These questions and more come into my mind as I ask myself again and again. I get myself together to make sure there are no mistakes. When it is done, I decide to take a breath and call my wife. It was now 8 in the evening now. I was on cloud 9. Now I feel lower than dirt. I do everything possible to control my breathing and steady my voice. I call her while watching her. When she looks at the phone, I can almost hear the disappointment and contempt in her voice. She did not pick it up until she finished her fest. When she gathered herself, she cursed under her breath. Damn it. It is that loser of a husband of mine. You would think that after all these years he would be a little more considerate. I can hear Derek laughing. Hey, go easy on him, baby. If anything, I'm doing him a service teaching you all these tricks for the past 4 years. I bet he did not even consider where you learned to do that thing. I could not stand it anymore. I had to leave. Before I was going to hurt someone, I backed my car as quietly and quickly as possible. Once I was able, I U-turned it and got out of there. I did not know what this was that I was feeling. Was it anger? Rage? Not something darker. But for sanity's sake, I had to get away. I would confront Janice, no question. But if I went inside that house, there is a strong likelihood that I would kill someone, or more than someone. I drove around town endlessly until I reached a bar around 10. I didn't know where I was. Somewhere in Orange Street. I asked for a beer and could not even drink it. I just looked at it. I looked at the bubbles as they made their way to the top of the glass, going into nothing. I began to feel like that was my marriage. All the years of love and sacrifice were all for nothing. As I sit in the bar stool, I hear the door open, or more like the people who enter it, loud and obnoxious. Then I heard a familiar one that was the last one I wanted to hear. Well, if it isn't my old pal from the job. How are you, my guy? Derek's annoying voice could never be forgotten or misunderstood. It always had a hint or arrogant prick in a-hole and a smug of jerk. I said nothing to him. I was too furious to even speak. Hey man, I just want to say awesome job today with the fiber. Just got the email. It is perfect. That entire town is going to have internet fast enough to hack ET's network. His ball huggers laugh as if on cue for their master and boss, or whatever he is or what they are. All I know is that I cannot be in the same room with this piece of shit. Not right now. Not if I don't want to end up in jail. I gather myself and get off the stool. But he stops me. Hey, come on man. Don't tell me you are still mad about today. Look, I'll ease up a little bit, all right? All I wanted to do is congratulate you on marrying such a beautiful woman that your wife clearly is. His crew snickered behind him. Most likely they know why he is talking like this, because not even a half hour ago he was screwing my beautiful wife in my bed, no less. And he was there as both he and her degraded and insulted me. Listen man, you can't blame me for stating the obvious, okay? She is gorgeous after all, not to mention extremely intelligent. I brush past him, brushing his hand away from me. It is strange. It is like I'm moving fast and slow at the same time. The adrenaline inside me wants to destroy something, hurt something. No, hurt someone, destroy someone. And he is not even 3 feet from me. I fight the urge because I know with what I had just witnessed less than a few hours ago, I will not stop unleashing my rage until suddenly Derek took me by the shoulder and turned me towards him. A look of irritation and disrespect was written on his face. Who the hell do you think you are, you shit? You know, you were the same arrogant a-hole that you were in high school. For some reason, I can't help but laugh at that statement. Like of all people, he with the guy that says that dumb shit. He steps to my face. Something funny, Jacob? He spits out my name. His spit on my face as he asked the question. My face is neutral despite the crack of human a few moments ago. However, as I think about it, something most likely did crack. He suddenly regains his composure and takes a breath. You know what? We are celebrating for the job you and your crew did today. And I'm not going to let your lame attitude damper my mood. So, I'm going to leave you, bye. Go home to your wife and get laid already. You look like you need it. I could barely control myself when he said that. I'm trying my hardest not to kill this man where he stands. I tell myself it is not worth it. The door is right there. I'm almost home. Suddenly, he steps in front of me. Hey, I just got one more thing to say. He leans into my ear to say this. Tell your wife I like her special tattoo. All I see is red at that point. I don't remember much. It comes on and off like switching channels from a television. One moment I see what I'm doing to this man, and the next I don't. The last thing I do recall is breaking that scumsucker's nose, then kicking him in the balls. Then I'm in full control, yet I'm not, if that makes any sense. I'm suddenly hit in the head with a bottle, but the anger in me is so much. It merely tells me where to strike next. With a rage I didn't know I had, I grab the guy by the back of his head and slam it in the bar. He's out of the fight complete as his teeth, body, and blood slumps down on the ground, making a small pool of blood and spit near what left of his face. Another guy tackles me and gets me on the ground and starts punching my face. I feel his blows, but they seem light. I take my thumb and jam it in his left eye. His screams can be heard filling the bar completely. People begin to panic and run away from the chaos, but I don't care. Suddenly some guy grabs me from behind. Hold him there. I can hear Derek's muffled voice, most likely due to the broken nose I had given him. I then feel a punch to my rib, then the other. Then a hard punch to my face. Then another. He then steps closer till our eyes are mere inches from each other. Not so tough now, are you? Dumb shit? Where is that super strength now, huh, tough guy? You know what? When I am done here, I'm going to screw that wife of yours on principle, the way she has been doing it for the past few years. I look through the blood in my eyes at his words. What? I ask a simple question. He merely smirks through his broken nose. You didn't really think that kid is yours, did you? Hell man, we all had a turn. Why do you think we make fun of you and pull your chain every chance we get? Besides, it's not like you can prove anything suddenly. It all makes sense. All the business trips for her medical field, the long meetings, and this is before our daughter was born. Our daughter, my world, is not mine, it's his. Before he can move, I kick the guy from behind me in his nuts. As he lets go, I grab his shirt and pull him down as hard as I can as I fall straight down. This causes his nose to land on the top of my head. I then give Derek another shout to the nuts before he can act but go back to the guy who grabbed me from behind. Without thinking, I take a bottle of rum and hit him over his head with it. The glass breaks around his head like confetti. I then lift him up, then slam his body onto a nearby table, taking him out of the fight completely. He is sprawled out like a crushed spider, the broken table beneath him. I then see Derek coming at me with a chair, but I spear him to the ground hard, taking the wind out of him and making him drop the chair in the process. And then I begin to hit him. The first punch brings a terrible yet satisfying sound, a sound of bone breaking as I punch what will use to be his face. The second is the one that brings the emotion into it. With each following punch, I think about all the lies Janice told me, the lies of her going to a trip or doing something for her job and family when she was only screwing him behind my back. All the times he smiled and snickered at me. All the lowball shots of how beautiful my wife was, knowing how she felt, sounded, tasted. Something that was mine, and it was given to him. I punch him harder and harder. I punch him again and again. I feel the tears run down my face, but I don't sob. I don't make a sound at all. I just punch him. I want to scream at him. Why you did this to me? What have I done to you? Stand up for myself? Is that why you did this? Why you chose my wife, then rub my face in it? Harder, harder. Jacob, that's weird. Is someone calling me? Jacob. Whoa, there it is again. I take another punch at his mangled and battered face, then I feel someone hold on to me, keeping me from hitting him. I was about to get mad again and hurt this person, then I heard the voice again. Jacob, honey, you must stop. Please, honey, or you will kill him. And you don't want that on your conscience, believe me. Wait a minute. I do know this person. Jackie? Jackie Summers was a retired airman like my father. She is a beautiful woman from South Carolina with a heart of gold. Her lean and fit body with just the right amount of weight in the right places would make men and women go nuts. Little did they know she has possibly killed more people than cancer. They did more than a few combat missions together. She was one of the best combat pilots not just in the base, but in the history of the U.S. Air Force. With over 70 confirmed kills in aerial combat, not including aerial to ground support. Many alive she saved from enemy troops and captures, but many an enemy she killed with her skills in the air. From Huey, Stallions, Apaches, and even A-10 Warthogs, she flew them all with skill and ruthless efficiency. She was even given the nickname Starscream for her skill and ruthlessness in aerial combat. She would babysit me as a kid when war was not taking place, as she and Dad gained a strong respect for each other. She and Mom even are best friend to this day. She is practically family. She always knew what to say. Jackie? I stop my hands from moving as I wait for her to respond. Yes, honey, I'm here. I just got back from doing stocks in the storehouse out back and saw people running. Then I see you. Like this? Honey, what happened? I look down at Derek. I can see him crying through the blood on his face. Please, no more. I'm sorry. Okay. Dear God, stop. I beg you. I then let Jackie help me up. She sees the tears in my eyes, but I'm not sobbing. So, I tell her, Jackie, Janice is cheating on me. At that point, I hear the police sirens, and my phone goes off. I pick it up. Honey, where are you? You haven't been here in hours since you were supposed to be. I'm worried about. I hang up before she continues. I then looked for the video. Despite the blood on my hands, I find it and the contacts I'm looking for, Janice, my wife, and Larry Miller, a friend and divorce lawyer. I send them both the video, with the note, I want a divorce added on. I then hit the send button. I then give my dad a call. I don't know why. I'm already going to jail most likely for a while from the damage I gave these guys. Plus, they're loaded anyway. I hear the old man pick up the phone. I even hear Mom grumbles next to him. Hello? Jacob? It's late, Jacob, you okay? I answer as best as I can. Yeah, Dad. I'm okay. My dad has been in countless combat missions, broke the most hardened terrors, and commanded the most savage military men and women of all branches into battle. Even I knew that I was full of shit, and he picked it up. But as I think about it now, it must be a parent thing. They love and raise you, helped you with every bump, bruise, and scar you gave yourself, changed your diaper. I think it's fair that a parent will know you are full of shit when it comes to trying to hide the fact that you feel like the lowest pieces of dirt now. Son, are you okay? I couldn't help it. A tear fell and my voice cracked a bit. I can even hear Mom begin to stir now, knowing something is wrong with her son. Seeing that there was no way out, I do the next best thing. Make it appear minor even though it is foobar at this point. Don't worry about me, old man. Just want to tell you and Mom that I love you. Dad spoke in return. We love you too, son. Jacob, what's wrong? I then heard Mom picked up the phone, her Scottish accent as thick yet her words as loving and kind as ever. Jacob, my boy, what is wrong? That did it? My voice is really cracking now, and more tears are following. I lie to my parent again, telling them I'm okay while fighting the urge to break down in tears. I'm okay. You don't have to come up. Delaware is a bit of a drive. I can now see the police cruiser in the parking lot. Listen, I must go. I'll talk to you later. I love you guys. As I hang up the phone and place it on the bar, I hear the police officer give her commands. Show me your hands. I can tell it's a woman from her voice, but I'm too broken to really care. I comply and allow her to cuff me. I can hear Jackie. Jacob, honey, it is going to be all right. I'm calling your parents now. I let the officer put me into the police car. She was rather nice to me. Okay, sir, watch your head. Okay, there we go. Let's get you secured in there. Strange. She smells like berries. It's nice. She tells me just to stay here for now, in a rather respectful way despite what I just did. I see more lights come up, followed by an ambulance. As I sit in the cop car, I see them bring the guys I destroyed out. They are carried off stretcher by stretcher, each of them bloodied and mangled. I think at least 2 of them won't have kids ever, depending on who it is anyway. The others will just remember this as one of their most brutal beatings of their lives. I see them all until I finally see Derek. His masculine, strong, arrogant attitude is now nothing but a shell of that. He notices me in the back of the cop car, then suddenly turns his face away from me. Most guys beating up a bully would feel epic about that, like they just won the world championship title of some sport main event. When I felt anything but like a winner, I felt like the biggest loser on the planet. I had just found out that my entire marriage was a lie for God knows how long. The woman drives me back to the station, no hint of attitude of meanness. Then she speaks to me. If it's any consolation for you, I know what happened. Your friend at the bar filled me in and showed me the video. I'm sorry, man. I'm going to get you patched up at the hospital, okay? But I got to take you to Central to be processed. The judge won't be in until Monday. I wish I could do more to help. I give a sad smile. You are doing your job, officer. Thank you for your service. But this is a bullet that I must bite, and bite it I will. She gave me a respectful nod. As we pulled into the parking lot, she eventually helped me from the car to the hospital doors. She stayed with me the whole time. I don't know why, but I felt a little at peace or even calm when she was around. Despite the chaos that my life has become, I think she even smiled a few times and said a joke or 2 that were funny. Eventually, the nurse patched me up. They gave me some sticks from the bottle to the head and a few punches. They also did something for my hands by washing and cleaning them with antifungal and antibacterial ointment, bandaging them. Eventually, we made our way to the county jail to be processed. You smell nice. She was slightly taken aback. Excuse me? I respond. Your scent or perfume, it smells like berries and flowers. It is nice. She stammers a little bit. Oh, thank you. We continue our walk in silence. Although if I didn't know any better, I thought I saw her smile a little as I watched her from behind. I'm then processed, but before she gives me to the staff, she pats me on the back. You take care of yourself. She then gives me a genuine smile. And just like that, walks away. I'm then brought to my cell. I guess I lucked out, it was just me. I don't know how long I was in there, maybe 6 hours at the most. But the next thing I know is that I'm called out due to my bail being paid in full and meeting my dad in the lobby. And the rest is history. I look at my dad as he takes in everything. I tell him. He just sits there contemplating everything he can. I then ask him, wait, where is Mom? And for that matter, where is Janice? I would have thought she would be here. Plus, how did you guys leave Delaware? You were enjoying your company reunion after all. I'm sorry, Dad, I feel like such a shit. Dad gave a light slap on the back of my head and smiled. Jacob, that was just a bunch of war buddies talking about good times and glory days. I'm 52. I have more than enough time to talk about things in the past with comrades. My son needed me. Our son needed his mother and father, and we answered the call. It's that simple. I'm your father. And even though she isn't here yet, your mother and I love you very much. It doesn't matter where you are. If there is breath in our lungs, we will be there for you when you need us. Our jobs as your parent don't end with you tuning 18. It ends when we are in the ground. Just then, the door opened. I see Mom bring in food and groceries to cook up a warm meal. As soon as she sees me, she practically drops the bags and runs to me, giving me the warmest hug I needed all damn day. Oh, my darling boy, I'm so sorry. Jackie filled us in on everything. She sent us the video. That no good bitch hurt my boy. I ought to make what I did to that 304's mother look like birthday present compared to what I'll do to that harlot for hurting me boy. I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit. 1 for her tenacity for protecting me despite being a full-grown man, and 2 for verifying what I thought was a rumor. My dad ended up laughing at this. Then I laughed, and so did Mom. We were all laughing together as a family. Here I am having the worst 24 hours of my life, and I'm laughing up a storm with my parents. I reminded myself how strong we are and why I'm proud to be a Galloway. I finally speak up after wiping my tears of laughter. Mom, you can't do that. You could go to jail for hurting someone. Which all but made us laugh again due to tonight events. After the laughter stopped, Mom made her way to the kitchen to cook us a much-needed meal. Mom was always an amazing cook. She always added something her Scottish roots, but added it with an American influence or dish. She cooked up cullen sink, along with marinated pork roast, mashed potatoes with butter, seasoned Brussels sprouts, and chief salad. Again, Mom can cook. The way Mom cooks, I wonder why Dad and Mom stay in such good shape. As soon as I ask that, I regret the question. As soon as he swallows his food, he answers, because your mother is a truly remarkable and affectionate woman. Mom almost spits out her drink. For God's sake, Simon, our son don't need hear this. Dad doesn't miss a beat. Oh, stop it. He has heard this every time we shut the door. Can't help it if I helped you reach that high note. Mom blushed but smiled. You evil, wicked man. I had to laugh. Okay, you perv. I already got a lot on my mind. I don't need any more trauma. Mom then spoke in her humor's way. Oh, hush boy. It is because of this trauma you are here. I then let out a chuckle before I responded. God, take me back to jail. With that, we all laughed. I did not realize how long it has been since we have been like this. Since we have been so happy in a room. I then realized I had not had this for a long time. I began to sob and was greeted with the loving embrace of my parents. The only real family I had left. I then hear my mother speak. It is all right, me little Balgar. It's all right. You can let all out now. Dad followed suit. That's right, son. We are here. We got you. And you don't have to do this alone. Let it go. And I did just that. All the hurt, the pain, the lies, the events of tonight, and the fact that my marriage was a lie, and possibly my family as well. I let it all out. I cry, scream, curse, swing into the air. I let it all out. I cry until I can't. Dad and Mom cleaned the dishes. Dinner was amazing despite what happened tonight. I help put the food away. When everything is cleaned, we all go to the living room, drink in hand. Then Dad speaks up. So, what now, Jacob? What do you want to do? And how do you want things to go from now? I take a deep breath. Well, I think it is fair to say my marriage is over. Suddenly, I hear my phone somewhere, but I could sworn I left it at the bar. Then my mom speaks. Jackie held on to it for us until we got there. The police already took witness statement and had plenty of video evidence to show them what happened. It even had audio. Jackie said it should help you, and will do whatever she can if it comes down to it. I nodded at that. That can be useful if they try to say I attacked them without reason. I already sent the video to my divorce lawyer via email. He will call as soon as he sees it. I then realized I didn't check who tried to get a hold of me. It was Janice. She had sent over 20 messages and missed calls, saying the same old cheaters babble. Can we talk? Baby, where are you? It is not what you think. I love you. Please pick up the phone. Our family needs you. I considered blocking her, but I figured I could use this in the future. It's her, but I'm going to keep it for now. I'll get a new phone with a new number tomorrow. Both parents nodded. I then spoke. The thing I don't understand is the why this happened. It doesn't make any sense. It's not like we didn't have a good sex life or anything. Hell, it was fantastic. But there were no warning signs or anything. Mom then spoke. Jacob, my son, it does not matter. Even if there was something wrong, whether it was in the bedroom or leaving the dishes, a wife will let it be known not to bagger her husband, but to allow him the chance to recertify the mistakes. I know you hate it when I flirt with your dad, but I love that man. After all these years, I love him and how he pleases me and I him with no shame. She failed to tell you her yearns and wants. She may claim that she loves you and in love with you, but make love to you while she screws another fellow because she is embarrassed or something. That is bullshit, pure and simple. A man and wife should both make love and screw each other's brains out and get into whatever kink together. They are each other's safe space in a way, where trust and respect are the foundation of their love. So don't let her use that bullshit. Oh, I love you this way, it is different. I had to laugh a little as Mom tried to imitate Janice. But she was right. It is okay to look at what I may have done wrong, but don't automatically blame myself. You're right, Mom, thanks. She smiled her own unique smile. Of course I'm right. I carried you for 9 months and popped you out and raised you. I better be right. God, I'm glad they are still with me. But like Mom said, that is on her for not letting you know those things and take that journey with me. What she did was cruel, selfish and wrong, pure and simple. When everything is said and done, Dad speaks. Jacob, tonight we are going to rest. Get as much of it as you can. Tomorrow, we plan for the war that is to come. It may not be the warfare that I have seen, but it will take its toll nonetheless. Just know that you will not have to take it on alone. With that, I made my way to bed. It was strange sleeping in my old bedroom again, almost surreal. As I was making my way to sleep, I heard a car suddenly slide into the driveway, then banging on the door. I knew the voice that was calling for me all too well. Jacob, baby, please let me in so we can talk. I can explain everything. Baby, don't throw away these years over a simple mistake. I got dressed and made my way outside my door, only to be stopped by my mother, who was already wearing blue jeans, sneakers, and a long-sleeve shirt and rolled-up sleeve. I watched as she slowly took off her bracelets and earrings. She then looked at me with the kindest expression. My son, you have had a long day. We made this room for your comfort. I ask that you please rest while I talk to your wife. I will explain that you are resting and ask that she contact you through your lawyer. Is that all right, Jacob? I thought about it. After tonight, I don't even want to know of her existence. Yeah, Mom, that's fine. I saw her smile that she showed me many a time when I got hurt, that everything is going to be all right. And with that, I left it to her, and just let my eyes finally get the sleep that they have been deprived of since this whole damn mess began. I close my eyes and begin to drift into my dreams, wondering what tomorrow may bring after tonight, wondering about my job and position, my crew, what's going to happen to me and Janice. I then drift away from the worry, as I know I'm ready to face whatever may come. An angry yet eerily calm Angela made her way to the front door. As she arrives, she finishes putting on her black leather gloves. Angela is a beautiful woman for her age, with a very lean figure, but she is anything but fragile. On more than one occasion, she has used her hands to hurt people. Her father taught her how to fight, preferably to box, and brawl your way out of a situation that calls for it. Many a woman made the mistake of thinking it was going to be a cat fight, only to find their jaw and teeth broken after a jab followed by a strong right cross. A few men made the mistake of taking advantage of her, only to find a bottle of Jack Daniels go across their head and face, followed by a kick to the nuts, ending with a fist holding a roll of quarters aimed and connecting right to their jaw. Angela smiles as she begins to open the door. Janice is about to knock on the door again when she hears the locks unlatch. She is about to hug her husband in an embrace, but is shocked to see Angela instead. Undeterred, she tries to come in, only to be shoved fiercely backward. She is still breathing heavy from the force of the push. Angela, on the other hand, just stand there, closing the door behind her. On the front yard, the house is in Mount Joy in a rural area, which meant that there weren't any neighbors around, which also meant not many if any witnesses and plenty of place to hide a body. But she controls her emotions for the moment and prepares herself for what Janice has to say. Angela, if Jacob is in there, you need to bring him out here right now. Angela did not say a word. Instead, she took out a toothpick to pluck out remnants of tonight's dinner. Then she spoke. Lass, there is no need to yell. I'm right here after all. But I think my son does not want to talk to you now. I think it is best that you leave him be. Janice spoke up. So he is in there? Get him out here so that I can fix this. This is all just a mistake. Angela then brings up her phone and plays the video she had sent to it. Is this a mistake you are referring to? Janice covered her mouth in horror and embarrassment before Angela continued. I do not know if I would call that a mistake. You seem rather eager with him placing his hands in your private parts as he kisses your neck. In your bed, no less. Well, more like the bed that Jacob paid for. In the house where he takes care of his family and lay with his supposed wife. However, it looks to me that you are not making a mistake as he is now behind you in this, Angel. Your facial feature would disagree that this is a mistake. Janice loses her patience and then comes face to face to Angela. Listen, you heartless bitch, you know nothing and have no idea what you are talking about. So do yourself a favor and get your old butt out of my way before I must do something you will regret, you dumb cow. Do you understand what I'm? Janice was both shocked and terrified by Angela's strength and speed. She suddenly found herself grabbed by the neck, then spun around, only to be held by the same single hand, up against the house. Angela then pulls out a very old, yet very sharp and functional single-blade straight razor, and brings it to her skinny neck. She has a calm smile that chills Janice to her core. Then she speaks in a very cold and eerily calm demeanor. No, you listen. I do not take kindly to some 304 trying to give me orders in my own home. She then brandished the antique yet very sharp straight razor. My father gave me this blade when I was young. You see, my grandpop was a barber. You see, they didn't have clippers and electric razors back then. They had to use these. Make them nice and sharp. They say it was good when you could see your reflection or cut a lock of hair. Angela suddenly flicked the blade above her ear, taking a piece of hair. Well, how about that? She is still pretty sharp. Angela shows an eerie, evil smile at Janice that brings chills to her heart and soul. Janice suddenly feels the cold, sharp blade on her neck. You know, this reminds me of a conversation I had with your mother. Janice is terrified at the words she heard. The idea that her own mother fell victim to this crazy woman as well. She is starting to realize that she never really knew these people. The blade is close enough to install fear and dread, which it was doing very well, but not too much where it would cut. Angela then begins to speak again. But anyway, back to my granddad. You see, he was a tough man in his day. I mean, he had to be. Being a Scotsman in Birmingham. Not Alabama, mind you, but England. He even ran with a real tough bunch. The crazy fellows even used to put sharp razors in their hats from those who want to get more than a little close. Many a face were left in tatters, but usually it was someone's eye. Probably explains the name they got. Oh, he and that crew were legend when it came to methods of brutality. But my granddad's favorite method was this little beauty. Janice was frightened as Angela brought the blade closer to her left eye. Janice was conceived she was going to lose her eyelid before Angela took it away. Angela's cold look never leaving Janice's eyes. You break my son's heart by screwing a man that has tormented him for years. You disrespect him in the bed that he lay and make love to you in. And then when he rightfully leaves you, you come to my home and demand that I fetch him for you as if I am servant? Is that right, lass? Janice could not even say a word. She was too afraid to move, let alone speak. Angela sees this and slowly removes the blade. My son loves you, even now despite the fact you shattered his heart. That is why I'm letting you leave this night with your skin still intact. Janice's blood runs cold as she hears the words. Yet she is also relieved as Angela loosens her grip and eventually releases her neck. I'm not going to tell you to stay away from him, nor am I going to tell him to take actions towards you. That is something he alone must do. But rest assured, I will support my son. You can leave now, hon. Our business has expired. Janice gets her belongings and orders and weakly walks away to her car. Suddenly Angela speaks. Janice, darling, if you ever hurt my son again, or if anything about tonight's encounter escapes your lips and I hear about it, I will finish the conversation I had with your mother and make sure you witness every minute detail, then complete mine with you. Do we understand each other? Angela made sure Janice saw the straight razor in her hand as it glistens in the cold moonlight. Janice then nodded her head and went into her car, nearly speeding away. Angela could not help but smile. As she makes her way to her bedroom, Simon is waiting for her. So how did it go? Angela begins taking off her clothes. Simon can't help how he feels seeing that beautiful body of hers. All these years, and the sight still turns him on as the first day she allowed him to see her for the first time. I believe the issue will not be with Janice. I think she has come to terms with how she hurt Jacob, and that it is best to be left alone until the divorce proceedings. Especially with the text she sent Jacob out of the kindness of her heart, or more likely compelled to do the right thing. Simon smiled. Compelled, huh? Angela smiled back, as her clothes fall away. Yes, compelled. I just gave a little push. Both gave a chuckle, then a sense of somber hit as she laid beside him. Simon, our boy is hurt. I wish I could take it all away. He did not deserve that. Simon agreed. No, he did not. And things are only going to get harder for him. But he will not be alone, beautiful. We will be right there with him every step of the way. Angela leaned in to kiss her husband. I love you. Simon kisses her back, seeing the look of lust and passion in her eyes. I love you too, beautiful. And the loving couple make love through the night, then sleep, to prepare for the world that their son must now face, but making sure he will not face alone. Back to Jacob. I woke up around 2 in the afternoon. I must have slept in heavy from last night. I look at my phone and see the same text from Janice begging to talk to her. Then I notice they stopped at some point, suddenly early in the morning at some point. Whatever, I got a busy day. I come outside my room and am welcomed with the beautiful aroma of eggs and bacon, along with turkey spam and fried chopped onions and blueberry pancakes. Well, somebody overslept in, huh? I heard my mom voice as she is cooking breakfast. It smells amazing. My childhood has the biggest smile on her face right now as this reminds me of better days. Well, I had a reason to sleep in. My dad came in speaking, right after he slapped my mom on her from behind. Mom blushed, of course, but she was anything but embarrassed. Jacob, come talk to me out front while your mom's making breakfast. We got to get ready for today. We stepped outside. It was beautiful for a late fall morning. The leaves came in a wave of orange, red, and brown. I then looked at my dad. I know this was going to be about what to do after everything that has happened. I just waited for him to lay it out. Because with what I feel now, and what happened last night, I think it is fair to say I'm going to need all the help I can get. I got a hold of a criminal lawyer for what happened at the bar last night. Me and Jackie meet up with him earlier today. He says he will take your case. He is coming from Philly. He took in what we told him. Jacob, you did some damages to those guys. This could be a case for attempted murder. We must prepare. You must prepare yourself, son. This is going to be one of the hardest and trying times of your life. If things go bad, you could go to jail for a long time. But know this, me, your mom, and Aunt Jackie will stand by you no matter what. You understand me? I love you, son. Dad took me in for a hug as the tears fell as I told him, I love you too, Dad. I love you too. We gathered ourselves and I told him about my divorce attorney, Clark Duncan, a friend of mine back in high school who was on the wrestling team, who went into divorce court. A mountain of a man, standing at 6'3" of pure muscle. He joined law due to what happened to him and his family when he was a kid. His mom cheated on his dad and was blatant about it. It resulted in a brutal divorce that ended in tragedy. His dad was given an expensive but useless lawyer, while his mother had her affair partner's very skilled and expensive lawyer. When it was ordered, despite proof of her cheating, she was granted full custody of him. His dad was crushed. His mom then gave an evil smirk and screamed to him, not only are you useless in bed, but you suck here too. I'm going to make sure our son is brought up like a real man. His dad snapped. He then knocked out the bailiff and retrieved his weapon. He shot his mother 6 times, killing her. He then shot the affair partner in the head, killing him, and then shot the judge who handled his case. When the bailiffs arrived, Clark had seen anything by that time. His dad then turned to him and gave a sad smile and said to him, I love you, my son. He was then killed in a hail of bullets. The judge survived the shooting, but she was wheelchaired bound for the rest of her life and retired soon after. Clark decided that no child should go through what he did and became a family lawyer, providing fathers a fair chance in custody cases that otherwise would seem hopeless. He became well known as the lawyer that gave cheated guys a chance and gave cheating spouses nightmare. After telling Dad about Clark, we set up my meetings. At 1, we would meet the lawyer from Philly, then at 3, we would meet Clark. 1 in the afternoon comes around, and we meet at the local diner. The man stood at 5'4", and one would almost say he looked like the guy from Game of Thrones, the dwarf I mean. Just slightly taller. Mr. Galloway, my name is Lucas Richards. I will be your defense attorney for your case. I understand that you had a situation in the bar from the information that I gathered. I paused, the recollection of the event and what led up to it playing repeatedly in my head. I answered with my head held up, but my spritz in pain. Yeah, that's right. I then noticed how he looked at me, then smiled at me. It was as if he were an old friend assuring me it was going to be all right. Mr. Galloway, I'm going to make it my mission that you go home, with not even a thumb smudge on your record. I have gone over the information that was provided. I have witness testimony that you were trying to leave despite Mr. Sanders and party preventing you from doing so. I have a statement from a Ms. Jackie that she overheard you claim it was like switching channels on a TV. Is that correct? I answered him, yes, that's correct. He then nodded in approval as he turned over his binder. Good. I'm going to seek out a psychologist in Baltimore to do an evaluation on you. Because from the sound you may not only have self-defense in your corner, but you also have reason of insanity. Not in the sense of hearing voices in your head, but to be so overwhelmed by stress and extreme cruelty your mind broke for a moment, and you didn't have control at that time. Mr. Galloway, you will go to that trail, but you will go home when this is all over. Now the trial will begin in 3 months. That leaves time for the victims to heal and prepare their case against you. However, it leaves me time to investigate their characters and destroy them on the stand. I understand you are off to see your friend Mr. Clark soon, yes? I gave him a nod, my mood slightly better. Very well, good luck to you on your case, sir. I would ask if he had anything that can help our own case. Please provide it with your specific instruction, of course. With that, we shook hand, and me and Dad made our way to see Clark. On our way there, Dad began to talk. Jacob, you know me and your mother love you. But son, this is going to take a toll on you. I would like you to join me at Mickey's. Mickey's is an old-school style gym in the neighborhood. It serves as a place to keep kids out of trouble and is where some of today's best fighters train. Many a legend started there. From boxing to MMA, many a fighter got their bearings here. Jacob, do you know the real reason your mother and me go to the gym and train? I looked at him, then answered. To stay in shape, I figure. You want to stick around for a bit, and I kind of want that too. That and to keep me up at night when you guys bang at 3 in the morning. Dad paused, but then smiled. Most likely due to his performance rather than embarrassment. Not going to lie, that is one of the perks of being in your late 40s and whatnot. But no, that is not the reason. It is because it keeps us in check. I did not understand where he was going with this, and he saw my confusion. Son, me and your mother love you, and will do anything for you. But me and your mother are violent people. Before you were born, hell in some ways after, we looked at the world differently than most and handled it accordingly. Me in service, and your mother in the street. We have sent more than our fair share of souls to the infirmary or worse. No one innocent, mind you. But that is all I will say about that. We were hoping our violent streak stayed with us. But from what happened the other night, we were both wrong. Jacob, you lost it that night. Mind you, it was valid, but you almost killed those guys. Don't get me wrong, if they didn't make it, on principle I would piss on their graves for what they did to you. And knowing your mother, she would do the same. But I know your mother want you to be like us. To know that feeling of taking a life and living with the nightmares that you eventually learn to either accept or become number 2. Going to the gym and letting me train you won't just get you in shape and teach you how to defend yourself, son. It will make sure you do not turn into us. We love you too much to just let that happen. I was taken aback by this. I knew my parent were not to be messed with, but this was crazy. But crazy or not, Dad was right. I did lose it. In fact, if Jackie wasn't there, I would have killed Derek. He is a piece of shit, but not worth going to prison for the rest of my life over. Okay, Dad. I'm in. When do we start? Dad smiled, then put the car in park, then opened the door. As soon as we are done talking to your friend over here. I look up and realize that we are now in his parking lot. He resides right next to his practice. His wife, Sheila, works as his secretary and sometime PI. She used to be a military police a few years back, but went into private work for her husband after her contract expired. Most women don't do PI work, but most women are not former MPs either, so it was a shoo-in for what she is used to. They lived in a 3-bedroom house that was 2 levels. The building was connected to Clark's officer for conveyances and easy access. When we stepped inside, we were greeted by Sheila. Hey, Jacob. Sheila gave me a hug. After hearing what happened, her and Clark have been moving like wildfire to get my case ready. He must have really took to action when he saw this. He's seen things like this too many times. And he knew whoever had the information sooner had the advantage. Sheila let me go and greeted my dad. Then we all made our way to Clark's office. Seeing him, there was still something I can't get used to. His muscular and tall frame made him look like the last boss from a video game. When he saw me, he immediately came from behind his desk and took me in a bear hug. Jacob, man, I'm so sorry this happened to you. The video you sent me, it must have been graphic. I gave him a sad smile. Try actually being the one recording it. He grimaced and took me in another hug. He and my dad made introductions, and with my permission, discussed everything in front of my dad. I told him about my relationship with Janice over the years, Derek and his team harassing me at work, to finding them together when I came home, eventually the altercation at the bar. I told him that if he can find any information that will help my criminal case, I instructed him to give that information to Richards, my other lawyer. He nodded and agreed. He then spoke, "Wow, I can see why you would be blindsided by this. There was no warning, nor did she even try to tell you something was wrong with your marriage. She simply decided to cheat. We can use that. It would be one thing if she approached you and told you something was wrong, but instead, she decided to cheat. And then there is the harassment you suffered from Derek. I remember him from high school. He was a prick then. It would seem not too much has changed. But we could go after him too." I was confused. "What do you mean go after Derek? If anything, he has a chance to get me in jail for the rest of my life." Clark smiled. "Being that you have ordered me to share information with Mr. Richards, I'm going to offer my 2 cents. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gave you a smile with what he already had." I slowly nodded, then he smiled. "That's what I thought. Jacob, if we can play this right, we can prove that the whole night was premeditated, and you can claim self-defense. We can also use that as a shield in case the state of Janice wants to use that against you in the divorce." Now, about Janice. I took a breath before he continued. "Something told me this was going to be more complicated than I want it to be. Your claim for cheating is rock solid. You did good by recording this, despite it being torture for you. However, and yep, there it is, most of the judges in this area know this is a at-fault state, which is why they seem dead stretched to bring marriage counseling to the table. What usually happens is the divorce is stalled due to expenses. We don't want that. Yes, we can prove she cheated, but has she done this before?" I paused, remembering what Derek told me that night. Hell, he was proud of it. "Yeah, I got the word from Derek she has been doing this for years. Before our daughter Elizabeth was born. In fact, there is not only the likelihood that she has cheated on me with Derek and his crew, but also that the baby is not even mine. And quiet, possibly Derek's." The room was quiet. Clark took this all in. "We need to find proof of this. And to do that we need Janice's help." I stood up in surprise. "What are you talking about, her help? Are you crazy?" Then I saw that smile that Clark gave when he had a crazy idea that was always destined to work somehow when we were back in high school. I saw this and slowly sat back down. "Okay, Clark, I see that smile you used to do back in school. What is the plan?" He looked at me and said, "It is going to help us more than you know, but you are not going to like it." I looked at him. "Okay, what is it?" "You are going to have to talk to Janice in person, so that you can get close enough to her and put this device inside her phone." The device looked like a small black piece of plastic. "What is it?" Clark then spoke. "First off, is your wife covered in your plan?" I nodded yes, "But if you think she has any evidence now, most likely she would delete it, all right?" "Yes, most cheaters do that. But what they don't do or know is that data never goes away, and as a result don't really get rid of it. What that little helper is, a hacker dream come true. It grants access to deleted data stored in the cloud. That data could be chats, videos, and pictures. Not to mention it bypassed the password that the owner of the plan, you, can allow it. Here, these are the instructions on how to use them. If you can somehow get to her phone, you can hack it. Once done, send the text to me. It should take no longer than a few minutes to trace and enter year of data, so the longer it stays on, the more data it takes. And that is data that we can use in court." Clark looked at the little device. "Tricky little scumsucker, right? I got it from a guy in a sales function for security. He used it himself for his own divorce. Thing is, his whole family hated him. He used these little guys here and got evidence on them all. The guy even played the evidence at some function in front of all to see. Talk about epic revenge. But I digress. You must put it in her phone. Is there a way that you can meet her?" I thought about it. She has been calling my phone nonstop last night. I just ignored her. I can call her for a meet to talk. At some point, I'm going to want proof of her chats. Most likely she will delete them. I can put the device inside and leave it in there and read her text and logs live. It is my phone, so there are no invasion of privacy crimes committed. Then we use what we already have and gain for the divorce." Clark then spoke, "And if it turns out that she did more than what she claimed, she is screwed. The judge will completely ignore the request for marriage counseling altogether if it's bad enough." We all nodded in agreement. With that we shook hands, and me and my dad left the office. On the way home, I finally felt like a weight has been lifted of my shoulders. Don't get me wrong, I'm still hurt and in pain, but I'm no longer helpless. Now I can get things started. We went home and me and Dad changed for the gym. I never been to one a day in my life, and Dad made me pay for it. We started off with 15 minutes of cardio. I was ready to die after 5 minutes on the treadmill, but Dad forced me through it. I still don't know how he did that. We also did chest and shoulder power set workouts and put some time in the mat and punching bag. Dad was not kidding when he said he was violent. Then man did anything but take pity on me. When it was over, we spent 3 hours at that gym, and my whole body screamed in pain. Dad then looked at my discomfort. You hurting? I threw up in the toilet as soon as he asked that. He could not help but laugh. And honestly, I don't blame him. I never took my health seriously, and it is now time I did. When I finished, I looked at him with an irritated look, but then smiled. Good, that means it's working. He then gave me a pat as I made my way to the showers. As we were leaving, I heard someone calling to me. I turned around and saw a beautiful woman come my way. She was at least 5'6", with a very beautiful face with blue eyes. Her skin was white, yet had a hint of something else, something exotic. Her raven color hair came to her shoulders, and she had a very athletic, yet thick build, particularly her waist and legs. She was wearing black leggings and a headband and black tank top. She was gorgeous. I would swear she was a fitness model, and she was coming this way. She stopped right in front of me, then spoke. Hey, I did not expect to find you here. How are you holding from the other night? I did not understand how she knew about the other night, let alone who I was. Apparently, she saw my confusion and acted. Oh, I'm so sorry. You were so out of it you wouldn't remember me at all, if not a little. My name is Rachel MacArthur, or as you may know me, Officer MacArthur. I was your arresting officer that night. I was shocked. I knew someone arrested me, but I didn't know it would be a supermodel. She must have noticed my jaw hitting the floor, because she gave the cutest laugh. Hey, don't sweet it. Most people don't recognize me out of uniform. So, how are you holding up? I somehow smiled at her question, as good as can be expected. I can't talk too much about my case. My trial will be coming up in 3 months. My divorce? It is hard to say right now. She smiled and gave me a hug. Well, good luck. I'm glad you're doing something with your time in the meantime. I hope it works out. I suddenly realize I did not introduce myself properly. I'm so sorry. My name is Jacob Galloway. It is nice to meet you officially. She smiles as she shook my hand. It is a pleasure, she said. Well, I'm going to get started. What time do you usually come in? Maybe we can do some work together sometime. I think about it before I speak. Maybe I can come a little later to bump into you. I noticed Dad at the corner of my eye behind her, giving me a thumbs up for approval. I appreciate the gesture, but the last thing on my mind right now is another relationship. She smiled. That would be cool. Anyway, Jacob, it was good seeing you again, and I hope things work out for you. Take care of yourself, okay? I'll see you around. She smiled as she turned and made her way to the indoor running track to do her run. My dad gave me the biggest grin. That's my boy. Well played. Whatever. You dirty old man. Let's go home already, okay? With that, he started the car, and we made the drive home. When we arrived, I went straight to my phone. I saw that Janice starting calling again. The same text and messages of how much she loves me, and that this was just a mistake, that it was only sex. I ignored most of them and just texted her back. We need to talk. 6 in the evening. As soon as I sent it, she responded with, okay, thank you, baby. I love you. I ignored it, of course. When it was time to go, Dad stopped me for a second. He gave me a pin. Put this on your shirt. It has great audio and video quality. You will need this in case she tries something. I know you choose the park because it's public. But what you forgot is that it is a Wednesday. Not a lot of people are in the park at this time. You can use this in case she tries to say something, which would not surprise me. Also, take the Q-tip. See if you can somehow swab Elizabeth's cheek without her noticing. Trust me, she will use every trick to have you take her back. I left. Mom and Dad gave me a hug. I thanked them for everything that they have done for me, and then made my way to the park to see Janice. When I arrived, it was like Dad said. Public area, but not a lot of people, which means she can make up any story if this goes south. I walked further into the park, and then I saw both her and Elizabeth at the benches. When she saw me, she immediately came to hug me. I light raised my hands. We came here to talk, so let's talk. Janice had a sad expression on her face, but I could care less. I needed answers, and I was going to get them. I was just curious if I was going to get honest answers from her. We just sat there for a few minutes, then I spoke. How long? Janice let a tear fall. Jacob, baby, we can work through this. We can talk to a therapist. I love you and I realize how much I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I wish to God I could take it all back, but I can't. And I will hate myself for the rest of my life. But baby, please know that I love you. I only screwed Derek, but I love you so much. As she was crying, I kept a stoic face with no emotion as I repeated the question. How long? When she stopped crying, she finally answered. 2 months. I knew that was a lie, but I didn't say anything. I went to the crib to hold Elizabeth as we both looked at the sunset in the distance. She then leans onto my shoulder. She never noticed the K-tip in my other hand as I swabbed Elizabeth's cheeks. I put it away in the zip bag. I then sat Elizabeth back down in her stroller, then told Janice, "Give me your phone." "I don't believe you." I could see the hurt in her eyes, but she did what I instructed. Like Dad said, she deleted all her pics and history, but she didn't see the device hidden under my long-sleeved. I made it look like I was going through her phone. She was so focused on my face, she did pay attention to my hand, installing the device right in front of her. When I heard that click, I knew it was in. I then gave her back the phone, and we just sat there. I felt my phone's silent buzzer go off. I knew it was Clark saying he was now in her cloud gathering evidence from the phone I bought and paid for. I had no intention of going back to this woman, but I still had questions. So, I went for the ones she had no reason to hide. "Why did you do it, Janice? And of all people, why him?" Janice paused. "I don't know. He was just different," I responded. "So let me get this straight. You bring in a guy who I strongly dislike, and vice versa, into our home, our bed, and screw him because he was different. You are going to have to do better than that, Janice." Janice cried hard before she could answer. "Baby, when you make love to me, as good as it feels, it was just boring for a while. Even when we first meet, yes, you please me and it was good, but it was predictable. You took the safe route and never tried anything new. You were an amazing man. Hell, you still are. But I wanted something more. Didn't you notice how good our sex was prior to this?" I nodded. In the past few years, she was the instigator, and God was the sex good. She would do things with me that would be seen on most adult sites and films. If things were like this, then why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you say anything to me? Why did you lie to me? She just cried in her hands. "Oh God, I don't know, baby. I wish I did, but I don't." Then I asked another question. "How did you and Derek meet?" She responded, "He was at a function for one of our investors. He was a charmer, of course. I was frustrated with our sex life, and he caught me in a vulnerable moment. We were talking at the bar and had some drinks. He complimented me on my credentials and how beautiful I looked. Eventually, he made his way closer. At first, it was slow. He placed his hand on my leg while still talking, then the hand went higher, and then I kissed him. We then made our way to his hotel room and had sex. That is how it started. I sat there, listening to this woman who I thought I knew tell me things I never imagined. I then got up to leave. I looked right at her. Was there anyone else? No, absolutely not. When she said that, I asked another question. "Is Elizabeth mine?" She came up to slap me, but I caught it. "Spare me the how dare your speech. You willingly slept with a man you know I can't stand and can't stand me. You lost your right to feel offended when you cheated on me, your husband. You remember what that means, right? Forsake all others. Now spare me, you moment of self-righteousness, and answer the damn question. Is Elizabeth mine?" Tears of fury and anger came from her eyes as I held her wrist that would have struck me. But eventually, tears of understanding and acceptance came down. Of course she is. Damn, a part of me was hoping she could at least be honest with that. With what I know, and the time difference, she sealed the fate of our marriage. I want a divorce, Janice. If you have any questions, talk to my lawyer. I'm offering you and Elizabeth 1 month to stay in my parents' home. In case you forgot, that is in their name. So, no matter how things go, the house will never be yours. Janice stood right up. "No, Jacob, I don't want a divorce. I will fight it, you hear me? Every step of the way. I make one mistake, and you think that is enough to dump our marriage. And then you talk about Elizabeth like she is not yours? No, Jacob, you don't do this over a simple mistake." I turn around and step right to her face. The look in my eyes showing anger, the like of which surprised her enough that she sits back down in the bench. "A mistake? Is that what you are calling it? A mistake is leaving your wallet at home. A mistake is leaving the cake in the oven too long. A mistake cutting yourself shaving. No, Janice, making the conscious decision to screw some guy in the same bed you have sex with your husband with, whom you claim to love, is not a mistake, Janice. It is a choice. And like all choices, there comes consequences from the choices. You are not a child, Janice, and I don't have to, nor will I put up with this bullshit. You want to fight it, fine. But I promise you, Janice, I was offering you a peaceful way out. Now I will go scorched earth and will make you feel more than an inkling of what I feel. I say an inkling, because the fake pain you claim to feel is nothing compared to what I do. Do you know what it is like to be mocked by that shit? Having him smile at you day in and day out, making little jabs about my wife who I love and honor, while he knows most likely he screwed you before seeing me that day. I touched and tasted every area of your body. How do you think it makes me feel knowing that there was a chance he had sex with you before I did? Janice could not say a word. At that point, Janice began to cry. I then turned away from her. Goodbye, Janice. I'll see you in court. When I arrived home, I got a text from Clark. Meet me in my office. I made my way down as soon as I got it. When I arrived, Clark had a mixed look on his face. He waved me to the couch in front of him and offered me a soda pop to drink. First, let me say, awesome work on the phone, man. My tech got something almost instantly. The thing is, man, it is bad. Do you want me to be here with you for it? I shook my head. No, man. I'll be okay. He nodded. Needless to say, your divorce should definitely have no issues passing. He patted my shoulder when he passed me. As he opened the door, Sheila was on the other side of the door. She was going to see if he was leaving when she noticed me. She then saw me. Oh, Jacob. She rushed and gave me a hug, as if she was watching a friend go to the gallows. I'm so sorry. Just remember, we are here for you, and we love you. We are together because of you. Don't forget that you are family to us. I recall the blind date I set them up for to meet each other. What many people assumed would be a train wreck turned into the greatest love story ever. Regardless of if my marriage is shit right now, I'm so happy for them. Thank you, Sheila. I'll remember that. With that, she and Clark took leave, leaving me with the laptop and video. I took a deep breath and turned it on. In it were countless sexual texts and meeting times to screw. And not a mere 2 months that, but more than 3 years. 3 years of videos of her having sex with many men and some women. 3 years of her in swingers gatherings. 3 years of meeting and get together with strangers, sexting, pictures. When I was finished, I realized I never knew my wife at all. For the next 3 months, I threw myself into my father's workout routine and training. I used my anger and pain as a motivator to keep going. My once flabby gut slowly became a six-pack, and my rolls eventually became iron beams. In 3 months, I lost over 100 pounds. I also had a bond develop between Rachel and me. She is biracial Irish on her father's side and Puerto Rican on her mother's. She even became one of the driving forces that got me into better shape with her diet and cardio regimens. Funny thing though, it turns out we have a lot in common as far as parent go. Her father, Stephen Rogers, was in Army, but became a cop, a damn good one, as soon as his contract was up. He met her mother, Alexis Costello, in his 4th year on the force. He arrested Rachel's mom in a bust with a crew she ran with. Later, that same crew was going to set up Alexis as a means of keeping stolen money and items for themselves. Plus, Alexis did not hurt innocent people, only people in the life, and it cost the crew money they did not want to share in one way or another. So, they felt it best to just get rid of her. What she didn't know was that her crew set her up. Her father caught wind of the setup and saved her life in the process. Her crew ended up dead, and her parents ended up wounded from the shootout that followed. They fell for each other while they healed up in the hospital, eventually hooking up more than a few occasions. One of those occasions resulted in Rachel. When it was confirmed, Alexis was pregnant, Stephen proposed to her right there on the table. She said yes, of course. They had an intimate but beautiful wedding with close friend and family members. She had to serve a year in prison, but was released early so that she could give birth to Rachel. They eventually changed their lives. Her father remained one of the best police officers in the area until he retired after 20 years on the force. He is a private investigator for insurance companies and the occasional private citizen. But his main time in the programs for at-risk youth and other after-school programs. Alexis also takes part in at-risk kids programs and is also a social worker to give back to the community she once took advantage of. And from what she tells me, her parents are as bad as mine when it comes to public display of affection. That and they look nowhere near their age. Her mother has been confused as her sister more than once. And her father, despite being in his late 40s, looks like an NFL running back and Viking all-in-one standing at 6'1". I remember laughing for the first time she told me that story, and I still do remember when I bumped into her at the gym. Then something happened that I did not expect. Hey Jacob, how are things going with the divorce and trial? I took a moment before I responded. Well, the trial got set back to the end of the year for some reason. Most likely due to the prosecutor getting more statement. But my family court and defense lawyer has been doing good gathering information of their own, so I think it will turn out good in the long run. My divorce took a little longer than I thought, but finally have a date to start things. But I think it will start and end on the first time we can meet. Janice has been fighting our first meeting for months, but I'm done with this and want something new in my life. It was at that moment that I truly saw her. Don't get me wrong. From the moment I saw her in the gym, I knew she was beautiful. But I looked at this beautiful woman and saw a desire and emotion I have not felt in months. Hey, Rachel, I know it is awkward, but would you like to go out with me sometime? Perhaps to a coffee shop, or maybe even dinner and a movie. Rachel paused and smiled at me before she spoke. Wow, that's a lot of calories you got for a cop there. And not one offer to a donut shop. Both of us gave a laugh. Yeah, in fact I was going to ask you out at some point if you didn't. You may not believe it, but ever since I first saw you, I did. I just remembered what you went through and didn't want to push it. Rachel then gave me a kiss on the cheek. I like comedies and butter on my popcorn. Does 7 this Friday work for you? I smiled. Yeah, I'll be in touch. It will just be a little different now since I'm calling to pick you up for a date and not carpooling with you to the gym. She gave me a smile. Be seeing you later, big boy. And for the first time in a while, I left the gym feeling something other than anger, hope. The day of the divorce finally came, and we were prepared. Janice sat down on one end of the table with her lawyer, and I sat on mine with Clark. Janice's side made their case. Your Honor, we feel it is best that the court offer marriage counseling. My client truly understands that she has betrayed her marriage vows, but feels that one mistake can be overcome with the proper help. They have a beautiful baby girl, who runs the risk and likelihood of being raised in a broken home. Surely both the court and Mr. Galloway can see this. The guy was good, but mine was better. The judges then spoke up. Does the other party have anything to offer? Clark stood up. Indeed, we do. I would like to ask Mrs. Galloway some question if that all right? After talking with her lawyers, she agreed. Now, Mrs. Galloway, you say that you have only been with Mr. Winters, correct? Janice paused for a moment due to the shame but answered, yes, that is correct. Clark then pulls out a folder. I ask the court see these image I'm going to now play, as well as these pages I will pass around. Clark then pushed the button for the flat screen to play and played the videos. In them were Janice in multiple sexual encounters with multiple people, both men and women. It also showed her having sex in my marital bed with Derek and his crew. Janice suddenly jumped up and screamed, no, no, oh God no, this can't be happening. The judge then ordered a break from the outburst. About 2 hours later, Clark and I were contacted by Janice and her lawyer. When we arrived, her lawyer had a look of embarrassment and anger, although not at us but her client. She then looked at us. What are you offering? With a smile, Clark responded. Nothing, however. Your client will keep all her asset and not return to the marital home for any reason. She will not contact Mr. Galloway and in fact return his name to him. She will then sign the affidavit to deny in form of child support due to the child not being my client but Mr. Sanders, whose DNA was found in the marital home. We also will be suing Mr. Sanders for alienation of affections as well as all parties involved and expect her full cooperation. She does that, we will not press charges of paternal fraud on her, and she and her child will not contact Mr. Galloway from this point forward. Mrs. Galloway will keep all assets that are his own and will pay no spousal support of any kind. Janice then spoke with her lawyer. We will agree with the terms completely. However, my client asked that she had 15 minutes with your client without console. I knew I didn't need her permission, but I agreed. Clark and her lawyer then left us both. When it was over, she spoke. I don't know why, but it started back when we were in high school. I was known as a fast girl who would hook up with almost any guy. That included Derek. But then I met you and I stopped for a while. Up until a few years after we were married when I met Derek again. The way I told you before, that is how we had sex again after years. It just wasn't the first time. I thought I grew out of that phase, but I didn't. I wish I could give you a reason, but I can't other than that. If you want me to be honest, I think I'm a sex addict. It would be easy to say Derek took advantage of me, but that is just a bullshit excuse. I could have told you what I was going through, and I could have sought help with your support. But like a coward, I didn't. She then stopped and let a few more tears fall before she spoke again. I will help you in any way I can with your case against the others. It is the least I could do after what I put you through. Got up from her seat and gave me one last hug and kiss on my cheek. I know it is hard to believe, but I never stopped loving you. She then welcomed the lawyers back in and signed the papers making the divorce official. She then recorded on video everything she did with everyone involved. She IDs the men and women she had sex with. Once all the information was gathered, it went into civil courts. It was a bloodbath on a financial level. CEOs, school principals and teachers, union reps, clients, even guys at my job including Derek and my supervisor who brought him in a year ago. When it was all said and done, I received $2 million in damages. Regardless how my trail goes, Derek and his cronies are ruined, as well as all their marriages. When their wives got wind of what they had all done, they had to give even more money to them. I wouldn't be surprised if those scumsuckers would be on the streets begging for change at this point. Serves them right. As the months passed, me and Rachel were an official couple. We didn't do anything other than enjoy our dates together for the first few times we went out. But it was our fourth that changed things. We had just returned for a walk, and I brought her to my house. After the divorce, I decided to stay in the house and toss everything that reminded me of my old life. From what I heard, Janice was shunned by her parent, but at the same time they gave her one final payment of 50 grand and sent her and Elizabeth on their way. She is working in a small clinic in Massachusetts somewhere last I heard. Rachel said she needed a shower. When she finished, she came to me with nothing but the towel she dried herself off with. We made love the rest of the night. I admit, what Janice said got to me, so I decided to do some research and studying on sex. Not to mention talk to a specialist here and see an adult video there. The sex was amazing. When it was over, we were completely satisfied. She then turned to me and spoke. So your ex in essence says you were boring and didn't know what you were doing? I shrugged and nodded. She then responded, she is an idiota. We both laughed in agreement. As time went on, we got closer. She would stop by to see me on breaks sometimes, or I would drop by to see her on her breaks. We laughed, cried, talked, and grew closer in ways I didn't think possible. We even meet each other's folk and have everyone meet at some point. It was an adventure, but everything worked out fine nonetheless. By the end of the year, we were together for 7 months, and we were deep in love. Love, a word that I thought I would never use to describe what I feel. It was our 8th month. She stopped me one day, before going out on patrol. I told her, come back home safe to me, okay? She gave me her beautiful smile. Of course, silly. I love you too much to not come back home. We both realized the words that she said, and without hesitation I took her in my arms, uniform and all, and kissed her passionately. I then told her, I love you too, Rachel. Thank you for showing me I can still do so. Thank you for arresting me that night. Thank you for being in my life, baby. I love you so much. Rachel was beginning to cry. Hey, come on now. You can't make me cry before going to work. What will the neighbors think? I kissed her again. They can think whatever the hell they want. I love you, Rachel. She then stood up on her toes and kissed me back. I love you too, Jacob. I promised to come back to you, my love, and with that I saw her off. When she came back, we made passionate love that night. Sex was always amazing for both of us as we were both curious and creative with each other and each other alone. But that night, we could even get her uniform shirt off. She was unstable that night. Eventually, the trial began. The prosecutor set me up as this jilted loved who went out of his way to harm and kill the affair partner. But after witness testimonies, evidence that showed that Derek was the aggressor and not me by keeping me from leaving, as well as the psychologist that Mr. Richards provided, showing that with everything that happened my emotions took over and I was temporarily insane. It did not look like much of a case. The trial continued for another 2 months, when it was times for the closing argument and eventually the juror to make their decision. I was declared not guilty of all charges. To say the weight of the world was off my shoulders was an understatement. Derek, who had fully recovered, gave me his most angry glare. I simply smiled in his direction, and he quickly turned his head. Last I heard, he was forced to move in with Janice with their daughter. They deserve each other. I just hope the kid doesn't end up like her parents. We had a celebration at the house. Both of our parents loved us. Her parents loved me for loving and caring and taking care of their daughter. My parents loved her for being there for me when I was at my lowest and showing me what it means to love again. They also had a mutual respect as well. A dark camaraderie of sort in a way. It was now that I made an announcement. Everybody, thank you for all that you have done for me and your support. I would never make it without you. But tonight is not about just me. It is about the woman I love, who if not for her I would have been lost. I then dropped on one knee to a shocked and crying Rachel, her smile seen through the tears. Despite it being cold, I could care less as we were by the fire. Rachel, you met me at my most low, when my heart was crushed and my hands were bloody. Yet you never hid your kindness to a broken man. Then as time went on, you were there at the beginning of my rebirth, where I would build my body and mind, and your kindness blessed me with your presence again, and you became one of the voices to press me on and not to give up. Then you gave me your greatest gift, your heart. A gift that I swear to you I will never take for granted and will do my best to make sure that it smiles every time you think about or see me, because when I see or think about you, my heart feels something I thought it never could again. A woman's love in which I treasure, and a love that I can't help to share and give again. I then went into my pocket to pull out a red box. I opened it to show a beautiful diamond ring, the image of Saint Michael on the brand engraved on it. The patron saint for police officers, for they are the peacekeepers. Rachel, will you give me both the pleasure and honor to marry me? Rachel practically tackled me when she kept kissing me, answering yes with every kiss. We were married 3 months later. At the wedding reception, it was Rachel's turn to make an announcement. My darling husband, who has given me one of the greatest gifts, that is your love. I smiled at her and gladly accepted her kiss. Then she returned to the microphone. However, my love, it is not your great gift that you have given me. I sat there confused, but I was mesmerized by her smile all the same. The gift, or should I say gifts that you have given me, are due in 9 months. Everyone was ecstatic. Both our fathers smiled with tears in their eyes. Our mothers were like best friends from high schools, celebrating by jumping up and down holding each other. But then there was me. I said nothing but stand up and embrace and passionately kissing my beautiful bride and wife. I love you so much, Rachel Galloway. She looked up at me with those beautiful eyes. I love you more. And we kissed again, and would continue our exploits back in our room, making passionate love throughout the night, sealing our union as husband and wife. The next year we had our first Thanksgiving as a family. Both of our parents was there, of course. However, there was a silent understanding that the men would stay out of the kitchen and would take their time anywhere else but there. The twins, Rebecca and Hector, both beautiful and healthy twins, were being spoiled by their grandfathers. I can see my beautiful wife in the kitchen making goofy faces at me. I can only respond by making them back. She decided that she would retire after the kids were born. She was a cop since she left the academy when she was 19. At age 28, she wants to spend her next years as a stay-at-home with her kids and family. After the fallout, the state decided they needed a new regional director. Guess who? And I took the crew who helped me at that Pottsville job, making more than enough money for my family. And yes, they were DNA tested, at Rachel's insistence. My God, I love this woman. Now, I can finally have something I did not think possible for the longest. An actual happy ending. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.